So this is yesterday's practice session, which of course was interrupted by rain and of course by dreadful video quality. Let me improve the PP for this, and would you look at that, much better quality. Alonso topped the session, but of course it was on a damp track. Aston Martin once again doing a good job in practice conditions, but they don't seem to be able to carry that practice form into the and the race. Verstappen 18th, Perez 10th. I think that should tell you that you should take these results with a pinch of salt. And of course, yes, would you look at that? FP3 starts in 41 minutes time. I am doing an early stream because I just want to talk about a few things. Of course, that man in 15th place, Nico Hulkenberg, how good is he as a racing driver? Do you really think he is? I think it is definitely worth asking, how good is Nico Hulkenberg really? In fact, you know what? I think I'm going to have an ice cream early. And F1 has strapped DRS for 2026. That is a huge news headline there. I never saw that coming, but there you go. DRS to be strapped for 2026. That is some news headlines, I've got to say. And what else? Hamilton received Mercedes upgrade whilst with Russell qualifying claim revisited. Hello there, I hope you're well. FP3 will start in 40 minutes time, but I'm going to start a poll about how good is Nico Hulkenberg really. And for those of you wondering, DRS will be getting scrapped for 2026. And of course, Magnussen has hit out at Perez for their crash in Monaco last time out. And of course, yeah, instead of DRS, we'll be seeing flappy wings that can be turned on and off whenever for every time they exit a corner. I hope you are well on this fine Sunday afternoon here. Of course, I know it's still lunchtime in Canada due to the time difference, but I hope you're well. I am going to set up a poll. I apologise if I'm taking a bit of time because I want to make sure I get it written out properly. Hi, Michael Weston. I hope you're doing well. Of course, free practice. Free will start in now 38 minutes time. I hope you're doing well. I really want people to wonder how good is Nico Hulkenberg really, because of course we have to look back at his career. He could have, I mean, he was beaten by Perez at Force India. He was outpaced by Ricciardo at Renault, and of course that led to Hulkenberg being forced to sit 3 years out on the sidelines. But of course he's also had bright spots like beating Sainz in 2018. Of course everyone is free to have their opinion. Hulkenberg was, got pole position at the 2010 Brazilian Grand Prix. Led the same race 2 years later before colliding with Lewis Hamilton. Okay, fair enough, Michael. I'm just, obviously I just want to have a chat because, of course, DRS will be getting scrapped for 2026. I mean, I think I could do a poll about, do you think getting rid of DRS is a good idea? Because instead, we're getting flappy wings being mandated from 26 onwards. Fernando did the same in Canada 23, qualified in second place. Yeah, but of course it's only free practice day. We've still got qualifying to come up, and that's going to be around at 9 o'clock British time, which is of course 4 o'clock North American time on the East Coast. Of course, I've got 2 votes so far. One says good midfielder, and the other says overrated. I presume I know who clicked on overrated. We are all free to have our opinion on what you really think. Of course, there's plenty of other drivers on the grid. Of course, Carlos Sainz is heavily rumoured to be moving to Williams. I already speculated this on the other on a podcast earlier on this week, but he has slammed. Carlos Sainz has slammed speculation that he could be heading to Williams. Apparently after an imminent announcement claim. Well, that is crazy. I mean, but having said that, Carlos Sainz has only really got Mercedes as a possible destination as a top seat for next season. The only other alternative I can think of is probably moving to Sauber or even Alpine, which I don't really entirely imagine Carlos Sainz is enthusiastic about joining those teams. Yuki Tsunoda claims he's happy to stay at RB, but he wants more commitment from the Red Bull hierarchy. And I've got a third vote has come in, and the second vote for good midfielder. I think that is pretty fair. Magnussen clocked in at 6th fastest yesterday in the FP3 session. Look at that. Magnussen was 6th fastest, ahead of Hamilton and Tsunoda and Albon. Mercedes looked quick. Though, of course, we have to remember it was a damp practice session with everyone failing with the fastest. Only Alonso getting under a 1:16 and everyone else unable to get within anywhere near close to him. Great performance, but Hulkenberg has had a strange career. Podium bottler, but also won at Le Mans. Absolutely true say. I wonder how's your evening going? Your afternoon, I beg your pardon, or lunchtime, since of course I am doing an early stream due to the fact that it's going to be kind of a bit of a late one this afternoon for qualifying, since of course right now in Britain we are currently having the rugby league final up north, and then of course at the same time simultaneously we're also having the rugby union cup final, because of course the both two codes of the sport just do not get on together. So of course, and I presume of course the TV companies over in Britain are, well, the two codes of the sport, rugby union and rugby league, don't see eye to eye, and they want to screw each other over. And Northampton have beaten Bath in the rugby union final. Was of course over up north, Wigan have destroyed Warrington in the league final. So yeah, of course, I think Northampton actually made a great comeback against Bath, whilst Wigan dominated their League Cup final against Warrington up north. Anyone who knows English classifiers will understand what I'm talking about when it comes to League and Union. It is, I mean, League is basically the northern working class, and Union is the middle class southerners clashing over the sport. But anyway, yeah. Alonso also. Hulkenberg did decently against Perez for 3 years. I wasn't too bad against Ricciardo. One of his best performances was the Nürburgring 2020, where, of course, he finished 8th, having not driven for 3 months. Absolutely, I've got to say that is true, but Hulkenberg is something of a wasted talent at this level of Formula One. Remarkably, he's got the most podiums in the sport, considering the fact that he's done 180 races, but yet despite all that talent and all that promise, he has not delivered a single podium nor a single victory. Admittedly, he's not always had the car to be able to produce such a result, since of course I think the best car he's ever had was of course when he was at Force India during 2015, 2016, and then later on, of course, when he was at Renault in 2018. I think that's probably the best car I've ever seen Hulkenberg drive, where he finished somewhere like 4th or 5th in the championship in those years for the team. Well, in the constructor standings, obviously, not Hulkenberg himself, because, of course, he also had a bit of a helping hand from Perez and Sainz during those seasons in accomplishing such a result. Oh, man. How good is Hulkenberg? You know what? I think I'm going to end the Hulkenberg poll because I think everyone has settled on a verdict. Good midfielder, and I agree with it. Next poll, do you agree with the transition from DRS to the flappy wings? Of course, DRS has been something of a huge, major talking point for the past 13 years. It has been around in Formula One. Not always the most popular technological device within the sport. Many people accusing DRS of killing the art of defending during a race, due to the fact that, of course, you're only allowed to use it on 2 parts of the circuit. And very often, of course, when a driver has a huge advantage from DRS, the defending driver will just let them past without a fight, which, of course, I think from a sporting point of view, it is not the best thing, if we're going to be truly, brutally honest. I mean, I'm actually quite pleased with getting rid of DRS because it doesn't really add what I think it should add, but of course, it was brought in as a band-aid for the difficulties with overtaking, which were prevalent between, I don't know, for pretty much decades in the sport. I think the thing is, like, I know when I first started watching Formula One during between like 2002 to 2010, that people were complaining about overtaking being almost impossible, the dirty air effect. And even with the 2009 rule changes, when he tried to make the wings a lot smaller and clean up downforce and get rid of the bits and pieces around the car, people were still complaining that they couldn't overtake, despite the fact they also replaced groove tyres with full slicks. But even then, I mean, everyone was like, oh, we still got all this too much dirty air, like we need more help. And then DRS came in 2011, and then after that, along with Perez, the races did have the appeal of being something akin to being like a Mario Kart race, where you would see one car fly up the order and then fly back down again because the cars behind them have got DRS. And again, now, of course, I know obviously Perez have to be criticised because, of course, during the time we've had DRS, Perez became the sole tyre supplier of the sport. So sometimes when people talk about DRS, they are actually, in fact, talking about Perez. What do you think about Canada as a track? Do you think it's a good track? Because, I mean, in the past, I know it's been home to some crazy chaotic races like 1998 And 2007, of course, Schumacher won after, of course, Jack Villeneuve crashed, spun off the road after trying to overtake Giancarlo Fisichella for the lead. Fisichella finished second. 2007, Hamilton took his maiden victory in Formula One after Alonso had 4 or 5 off the road and got overtaken by Sato. Was Alex Wirtz took his final podium in Formula One, having barrel rolled at the start of the race back in 1998. And of course, 1978, it was also the scene of Gilles Villeneuve's maiden win in Formula One, winning for Ferrari. But of course, his son Jax would never win at a track, having crashed out on the first lap into the wall of champions in 1997 after having taken an easy pole position, but having casually binned this guy into the barriers so early on in such amateurish manner and such amateurish manner. I mean, no one has voted on my DRS poll so far. I mean, get your votes in, man. Like, I want to hear your thoughts on DRS. Like, everyone has moaned so much about it, but, you know, I thought DRS would go back to 1.5 seconds. Yeah, but that's a bit silly, isn't it? I mean, you know, we've got another 26 minutes until the free practice starts, so please get your thoughts in. Of course, the FIA have officially unraveled the new regulations with the new look car. I have to say, the car does look a bit... I have seen the new car, and it does look a bit more cleaner cut, but a bit more blocky. But they've also said they're going to reduce the weight by 30 kilograms, and they're going to make the cars narrow back down to just 1.9 meters wide, which now obviously the 2016 cars were 1.8 meters wide, but the next cars are going to have the same dimensions as the current Formula 2 Delora chassis, which is a bit more simple in my opinion. Of course, 2011, Jenson Button winning that crazy race where there were like, I don't know, 6 safety cars, and there were many pit stops. Of course, Jenson pitting, I think, what was it, pitting about 5 or 6 times in a crazy race where even like the Kobayashi was heading for a podium. Michael Schumacher was heading for a potential race win, but of course, as the track dried up, Jenson Button suddenly found a ton of speed out of nowhere. I mean, of course, there's been speculation over, of course, Lewis Hamilton saying things like, oh, the Red Bull upgrade has failed, Daniel Ricciardo is washed, but then, of course, that's not really a news headline. Jacques Villeneuve has trashed Ricciardo, saying, I don't understand why he's still in Formula One. Jacques Villeneuve always likes to open his gob. James Vowles claims that Williams, get this, just get this right. James Vowles claims that we have 2 world-class drivers. Yeah, that's right, folks. James Vowles is trying to convince us all that Logan Sargeant is an F1 standard driver. Let's just be real here, folks. That's gotta be it. That's an April Fool's joke right there. Like, I understand that Logan Sargeant has a seat because he's American and he brings potential sponsorship money. But let's be honest, Williams need a 4 guy that they can put all their old bits and pieces on as a guinea pig.
We want 2 world-class drivers to be a part of our stable going forward. We want the world to realise that we're here and we're serious. We're investing what it takes to be back at the front. In 2026, we have one of the best power units, if not the best power unit, coming to our car. We'll announce shortly, I hope, that there's around about 30 incredible people from other teams joining our organisation that we've been gathering across the last 12 months. the world is changing, and someone like Carlos would feature very highly in that regard in terms of the grand picture of where we are. Of course, the difference is he has the choice of whether he wants to come here or not, and that's his to make.
But do you have the feeling that you are convincing him?
It's hard to tell. I think he can see all the strengths.
Let me just pause the video there. 2005 is the best ever F1 race I've ever seen in my life. There were no tyre changes. Everyone had to use one tyre compound. There was refueling. And of course, you know who won the race. Although having said that, the guy he overtook was my second favourite driver in F1 at the time. So it was a tiny bit bittersweet. You know, it was one of Kimi's greatest performances. But it was also a very open signal that Giancarlo Fisichella was washed up. Let me continue with the video.
It's easy for me to say because I'm Williams and I wear the shirt, but I think it's an easy decision to come here. But it has to be his to make.
Well, that's not just courting him, it's giving him a great big kiss, isn't it, Jack? I mean, you know, he's laid his cards on the table, and poor old Logan, who's in the back of the garage there, and he's just said it as it is. He wants two world-class drivers.
Well, Sainz for Williams would be a big coup. That would be a big step up. It would push Albon as well. He would have a teammate that pushes him, and then we would really see what Albon is made of, because we haven't yet. He's never had a teammate against whom he really had to compete.
I think that talent attracts talent. I mean, Alex has done a really good job of representing the team in the best way possible because they haven't been very good, but he's been able to show some strengths here and there for them. And so I think that will attract people. Obviously, James has done a great job in attracting more, as he said, 30 people. But I think that it would continue to truly accelerate this team if Carlos was to come on board. I think that...
Get a load of this. Albon has out-qualified Sargeant 7-0 so far this season. 7-0. Yeah, don't tell me you've got two world-class drivers there, Mr. James Vowles, because Sargeant is not world-class, sorry.
But I love the fact that he said it's got to be his decision. Because one thing is true, you've got to have people that want to be there if they're going to do a good job.
And also, if you look at Sainz's career, he's always jumped to teams. And while he was at the teams went up. Yeah. He's always made the teams better. I don't know if it's coincidence or it's linked to him, but that's always happened. It happened in Renault, it happened in McLaren, it happened in Ferrari.
Oh, damn, we've got to get a load of this. Probably. Jacques Villeneuve has got some very harsh opinions on Mr. Daniel Ricciardo. Why is he still in F1? Yeah, boy. Jacques Villeneuve, base Jacques Villeneuve, about to speak fact, and just as I'm about to get past this advert, I'm going to play the sound of what he said, because we've got a proper ripper from the 1997 world champion.
Let's talk about Daniel Ricciardo, because speaking to Laura Mekies during that session, it very much sounded like they want to hang on to Yuki.
Yeah, that's right, folks.
Situation perhaps undecided. His first win came here in Canada in 2014, 10 years ago in the Red Bull. I mean, I guess no one would have thought how his career would pan out to this point now.
Yeah, but past performance is no guarantee for future success. And I think we have to look at the Kyoto now. They've got Yuki is doing a good job at the moment. He's been ahead so far this season. They've got Liam Lawson on their books, who I think did a very good job in the few races we saw. In fact, out-qualified Yuki in a couple of races last year as a rookie. So they've got to look at and what is the purpose of that team?
Yes.
Their purpose of that team is to train drivers to move up the paddock to the team behind us here. And so I'm sure they've got an eye on youth, but if the purpose is to score points, then maybe Daniel's experience comes to that as well. So we'll see.
Sounds good. Jack, anything to add on Daniel?
Why is he still in F1? Why? What? We're hearing the same thing now for the last 4 or 5 years. We have to make the car better for him. Sorry, it's been 5 years of that. No, you're in F1. Maybe you make that effort for Lewis Hamilton, who's won multiple championships. You don't make that effort for a driver that can't cut it. If you can't cut it, go home. There's someone else to take your place. That's how it's always been in racing. It's the pinnacle of the sport. There's no reason to to keep going and to keep finding excuses. And you all talk about that first season or first 2 seasons. He was beating a Vettel that was burnt out, that was trying to invent things with the car to go win and just making a mess of his weekends. And then he was beating for half a season Verstappen when Verstappen was 18 years old, just starting. Then that was it. He stopped beating anyone after that.
I mean, that's quite a harsh look at his career. From your point of view then, do you think he's been overrated the whole time?
I think it's his image has kept it in F1 more than his actual results.
Since no one seems to be bothered about my DRS poll,
England were beaten by Iceland at Wembley last night, as said.
shall we talk about Mr. Esteban Ocon? Because I think we need to talk about, was it the right decision for Alpine to tell Ocon to leave? And I do poll this up, yes. I think you know who I would want, I'm kind of irritated by. Unfortunately, yes. Yesterday's 3 practice sessions were ruined by the rain. But unless, of course, there is a such thing as a weather god that can be...
I tell you right now, there are thousands of F1 fans.
That can, unless F1 can invent a weather god to stop the rain, unfortunately, the Canadians can only really pull up with what they saw yesterday, which was, of course, limited running and Fernando Alonso topping FP2.
Why? Well, they bought tickets. They were attempting to get into the track, and they were told no, FP1 and FP2 have been cancelled. Who told them this? The police. And were those sessions cancelled? No. They both ran. Some of the people were turned away on the bridge. Others were turned away at metro stations well away from the track. Formula One's understand to be very angry. The police took it upon themselves to just make a statement to the crowd and turn them away. These people have paid big money for a ticket and they are ropeable. I put this post up on Instagram just before the start of FP1. While I'm waiting for the session to start, I'm flicking through some Insta comments and I see we were in line for an hour in the rain trying to get in. They said it's cancelled for the day. Is that true? It was not true. FP1 ran. That person went on to say that they were waiting at the bridge near the casino, and as soon as the rain stopped, they said they're not letting anyone in because both FP1 and 2 were cancelled. So everyone turned around, came back home, only to hear that in fact it was not cancelled. Even the police in the metro subway weren't letting people get on the train because the day was cancelled. Wasted money on tickets and frustrated as hell. Now someone is going to have to sort this mess out. I can tell you that Formula One is meeting with the police this afternoon to get their side of the story. But I don't know what happens to those people who paid big money to come to the event today to be turned away when it was actually open. I tell you what, if I paid big money for a ticket and was turned away at that bridge and could actually see people inside and the cars running, I'd be looking for some sort of financial compensation. The session itself didn't start on time. There was a fair bit of mopping up to be done. And when it did finally get underway, Lewis Hamilton was the first car out, giving a wave to those people in stand 24 that managed to get into the track. And Aussie driver Jack Doohan was out in that session, although it didn't run for terribly long. He was in Esteban Ocon's car and would have been disappointed that that session was indeed shortened. Here's another comment. We were at the Berry station, and yes, the message over the intercom was that everything was cancelled for the day. Well, it is unbelievable, you're right. Well, they lied, went back home early to learn that FP1 was proceeding. That is a very ordinary state of affairs, and someone needs a good kick up the arse for that, I'd suggest. Well, it is an ugly day here in Montreal. This is the paddock. Before it was teeming with people, drivers everywhere, everybody enjoying themselves, and then suddenly
3 days to tag Jack's Builder session, eh?
Underneath. We've actually had hail. Behind me here you can see some remnants of it, but this was the scene probably about 10 minutes ago, and that was about 10 minutes after the hail stopped. Now, I can't remember the last time that I've seen hail at an F1 track, but I am told that... oh, I just saw someone get clipped by an umbrella in the head. Yes, I got distracted. I am told that that hail and rain should stop by the start of FP1. Let's go through the weather for the day. We had a bit of everything, of course. We had that very savage downpour. Then we had sun for FP1. FP2 was run under sort of meh conditions, grey skies and a little bit of rain. But that didn't deter Fernando Alonso because he set the fastest time. Helmet-wise, yeah, Daniel Ricciardo's is a ripper. He's used maple syrup on the top. Well, it's not real maple syrup, it's paint, but it looks fantastic and I think very apt for this part of the world. Still on the weather, umbrellas were out in force at the end of FP2. Now, who was holding the umbrellas? Because I know you love big fault with, say, Lewis Hamilton when he gets one of the crew to hold his umbrella. So I can tell you that Esteban Ocon held his umbrella, but none of these did. Alex Albon, George Russell, Pierre Gasly, Oscar Piastri, Lance Stroll, Sergio Perez, and Max Verstappen. Charles Leclerc, no, I didn't see him with an umbrella, but he did hightail it out of the garage. He actually stopped to do a couple of selfies with some people at the request of Gino Rosato, who is a funny guy, and you might have seen my post with Gino and Carlos yesterday. Well, Gino actually commandeered Charles to do a couple of selfies, and then he was late, so we had to sprint back to the hospital.
Actually, you know what? I think, considering we've had Leclerc, Sainz, and Norris win a race this season, I think we should talk about who might actually win this weekend's Canadian Grand Prix, because we've had very little proper practice running. And with Ferrari and McLaren having managed to win races this season, I think I can be a bit more optimistic in terms of talking about who do I think might win a race this season, since, of course, 4 different race winners this season. 4 different race winners. Who would have thought in this era of F1 with Max Verstappen and Red Bull having such a strong car that we actually have some buzz about the fact that we don't know exactly who might win the race on Sunday. It's a strange situation because I've not felt like this for over 18 months now, since, of course, I think the last driver to win a race before all of those 4 drivers, along with, of course, Sergio Perez, was George Russell at the 2022 Brazilian Grand Prix. Can you believe it or not? That was Mercedes's most recent win in F1 was 18 months ago. Also, you can rate a lot of drivers on your time big tier list. It was quite fun. I don't know, mate. I mean, the problem with tier list is that we all debate about which driver belongs in which category. I mean, especially when you start talking about drivers like Jenson Button, Kimi Räikkönen, Nico Hulkenberg, where some say, well, a lot of people, including myself, claim that Kimi Räikkönen is a legend of the sport, but then there's others who say he's terribly overrated. Two drivers ended up in the F tier. What do you mean? What? Sargeant and Zhou Guanyu this season? Could you put them in the F tier? I mean, personally, I feel like I want to put Esteban Ocon in the U tier. U for Uber, because, I mean, at this point, if he doesn't brush up his act, he could well be making the move to Uber next season, because if England can't beat Iceland, I'm not sure how England can deal with Walmart and Audi when we get around to playing them in the Euros. And as for Esteban Ocon, well, he's definitely going to have to start considering driving taxis now. I mean, forget about his FIA super license. It's time to consider what his taxi license could be like for 2025. Oh, you put Mazepin in there. Okay. 2 people have voted for Lando Norris. That is remarkable. The Lando Norris hype train is building up. I have been comparing Lando Norris to Rubens Barrichello, but how good is Lando Norris? Like, I really want to hear your opinion. Like, is he that good? 3 people have now voted in favour of Norris. I think a lot of people really are rating Norris highly, and you put Lance Stroll in D tier. I've got to say, that's quite generous, my friend. That is rather... I think you are being quite nice towards him, which I know realistically, yeah, that's where you would put someone like Lando Norris, but, you know, you've got to realise that Lance Stroll is by far one of the least consistent drivers in the sport right now, but I've had enough of talking of Lance Stroll, but I want to talk about Lando Norris, who, in my opinion, is someone who has glimpses of World Championship winning talent, but he also has moments where he can flatter to deceive at the worst possible moment. I mean, how good is Lance Stroll? Like, my poll is running up. Who will win the Canadian Grand Prix? And 3 people think that Norris could win the race. That is truly remarkable. It's definitely true that people's opinions of the young British driver is rising up. Stroll in C tier. Stroll over Jules Bianchi. Wow, that is I think you're committing sacrilege there, my friend. I think you are committing what we call blasphemy around these parts of the F1 fan community. Yes, of course, Norris blew his chances of winning the 2021 Russian Grand Prix in what was a huge pressure situation where he had to make a decision over whether he should stick to dry tyres or wet tyres. I think he hesitated and waited far too long to pit when it became obvious that the rain was lashing down. It was so obvious that he needed to go on wet tyres, especially when you consider I think he had about a 10 or 20 second advantage over Lewis Hamilton when it started raining. He just panicked. And I do get the sense that Lando Norris is still not the most confident when it comes to strategic decisions. He can be hesitant on the radio. You know, he doesn't have that sense of decisiveness and that authority that Max Verstappen and Carlos Sainz have when they're in a big pressure situation in the middle of a race. He's got to improve that. But once he improves that aspect of his driving and his racecraft and his management, then I can really start to consider him a threat. It's his decision-making and his self-belief that definitely needs to improve. But once he gets on top of that, he is a potential world champion winning driver. I think at his absolute best, he is better than George Russell. And he's got the potential to match someone like maybe even Charles Leclerc. Because I know Charles Leclerc himself has got problems with making decisions on the fly. But Leclerc, though, has got the advantage of being a real true pedigree qualifier. Qualifying might be delayed because of the weather forecast, yes. Hailstorms have been bashing it down in Canada, and of course, I think as you've heard from Kim Illman, that there were fans that were denied entry to the track this weekend on Friday afternoon, which is pretty disgusting in my opinion. But Lando Norris, I think he is one to watch out for. And as for his teammate, Oscar Piastri, well, if he can stay on top of Oscar Piastri, because you've got to realise Oscar Piastri is improving, then Lando Norris has got to be a threat because, you know, Oscar Piastri himself was a top driver in the junior categories, winning 3 consecutive junior categories from Formula Renault to Formula 3 and Formula 2, all within the space of about 2.5 years. Indeed, John Cartier, yes. I mean, Lando Norris has got the world at his feet, and if McLaren can deliver him a race-winning car, it surely has got to be up to Norris to deliver the goods. Just so you know, I am in the middle of watching a video about England's performance last night. I mean, okay, so say Regara says that Bianchi had one good drive in the 2014 Monaco Grand Prix, but even within the race, he actually hit Kobayashi. Yeah, that's true. I mean, he did ruin Kobayashi's race. I mean, it was of course, he got a time penalty for that incident, from what I remember, because he actually finished 8th on the road for it in his Mana Marussia, but because of the time penalty, he dropped behind, I presume it was someone like Roman Grosjean or whoever it was. But nonetheless, those 2 points kept Mana Marussia afloat as a Formula 1 team due to the prize money he won for finishing 9th that day, because of course at the end of the season, they finished 10th ahead of Caterham, which was... No, they finished 9th because, of course, they also beat Sauber. So, what a result that was. I think it was kind of a bit like Mark Webber's drive to 5th place at the 2002 Australian Grand Prix, where, because of that one race, he also up and he finished 9th in the constructor standings and pretty much kept that team financially alive and being able to survive in Formula 1. And of course, without that drive, I mean, there probably could be a chance that Minardi that we wouldn't even have what we call the RB team, which of course has been known as Toro Rosso or AlphaTauri in recent years. So, you know, Mark Webber, just like George Bianchi, helped to keep at least 300 people in a job. Oh, I don't know why I'm watching another video about England struggling again. I think, of course, I need to get on with free practice, which I think, unfortunately, I turned my camera on a bit too soon because I didn't know what time it would start. And it's going to start in 5 seconds, folks. Free practice will begin now. Yes, and it has now begun officially. Everyone is out on the track, of course. And from the weather forecast, it is dry conditions under cloudy skies. Raikkonen's at the back end of S+. Okay. Wow, that's, was it, I don't know, was it a survey of all the drivers from since 2000? Like, was this tier list based on the drivers who competed between, like, since 2000? Because, I mean, if that's true, then yeah, Kimi, I think, does deserve to be at the back of the S+. And if you're wondering who's on track, the 2 Red Bulls and George Russell, along with Leclerc and his teammate Hamilton, have all headed out onto the track. And Verstappen has gone purple in Sector 2, unsurprisingly, because, you know, it is indeed Max Verstappen. Fans' favourite, Lando Norris, is still stuck in a garage, but the 2 Saubers of Bottas and Zhou have ventured out, along with, of course, Carlos Sainz and the driver of Car 31. I'll refer to him as Car 31 because, you know, he really doesn't deserve anything more than a driver Uber next season, the way he's going. Yeah, I'm obviously talking about Esteban Ocon, but yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm so annoyed by him. But, you know, Ricciardo, Piastri, his teammate Norris, the 2 Aston Martins, and Logan Sargeant have all headed out onto the track. So there's 15 cars out on track. George Russell has done a 1 minute 33.4. Oh, yeah, these are the exploration laps, so I won't read too much into it. Most drivers are all on the medium tyres. There's a lot. Oh, right. So it's all the drivers since 1950. I got you. Yeah. Fangio. Wow. Yeah. I mean, Fangio and Prost have got to be my two picks of the GOAT of F1. I know that's controversial because, of course, I'm excluding Senna, Schumacher, and Hamilton, but I have to say, though, in this modern era of Formula One, I would have to say some of the, I beg your pardon for burping so inappropriately, but Fangio and Prost's skill sets in terms of conserving cars over long distances, unfortunately, might be a bit redundant in today's Formula One since telemetry and tyre data and all the sensors they have on the cars kind of do the job for the drivers in terms of being able to read the car's behavior and how well the software is working. Of course, Perez has gone fastest with a 1 minute 18.1. Of course, it's only the early few laps, so I think only in about 10 or 15 minutes time we'll see some of the fastest laps. And I will show you the timing screen. Ricciardo and Piastri on hard tyres. I will show you times when I start to see some fast laps coming in. But, you know, earlier on, I did try to do a poll about was it the right decision for Ocon to be dumped by Alpine, but absolutely no one answered it, and I decided that I should do another poll where, of course, I asked you, who do you think will win the Canadian Grand Prix? And all 3 votes went to Lando Norris. Very popular, I've got to say right now. I think I did did talk for about almost 5 minutes about how good is Lando Norris. I think he is potentially somewhere around the talent levels of Charles Leclerc and a better driver than George Russell, but he does have a problem when it comes to race management and strategy decision-making, which, I mean, as we've all seen with the top drivers, they are very assertive and they know how to commit to a decision when they make it. Lando Norris needs to really believe in his own ability a lot more now. And Gasly goes fastest with a 1:16.4. Of course, it's not as fast as Alonso's lap time from yesterday, but only on his 3rd lap, a very fast lap time. Of course, he's not going to win the race tomorrow unless, of course, divine intervention plays a key role, but it is proof that Gasly is picking his form up. Ocon goes 2nd fastest, but only with a 1:17.6. Yellow flag. Of course, the 2 Alpines have got 1st and 2nd, but of course, it's only free practice. And there's a red flag. Oh, you're kidding me, mate. You're kidding. There's a red flag. I'm not even sure what that was because, of course, I'll get rid of the adverts. What's that, Zhou Guan Yu?
It was okay.
Zhou's just had a crash. Dear Lord, Zhou Guan Yu has just had a crash and he's put the session under red flags.
That'd be good to know. Yeah, this is probably not what you want to see.
You wash me. Zhou Guan Yu, you are done with Formula One. Like,
No speech. We'll see what happens.
Oh, he got beached in the gravel. Well, that's pretty shocking, really. We are only 7 minutes into FP3 and we've had a red flag because Zhou Guan Yu has spun into the gravel. I'm not going to say anything because I think you can read my facial expressions. This is Zhou Guan Yu's 3rd season in Formula One. He spent 6 years in Formula 3 and Formula 2 and won a grand total of 7 races. Yeah, nah, no. Alpine need to look at the nonsense they've done, to be honest. 22 and now 24 and even 20 when they were Renault, they lost their best driver. Well, I mean, I know some people like to say... I know there's been a few people who have said, oh, is the better driver than Gasly outright, but... I mean, Ocon is just a shit, sir, at best. I mean... I'm sorry, every time he starts fighting, every time he sees his teammate in front of him, he just has to go and put the boot in. You know, it's kind of a bit like Roy Keane's quote. Oh, you know, I'm big bad. Oh, I feel like I want to kick someone in. Yeah, okay. Oh, how about I'll go and kick you in today? Yeah, that's Esteban Ocon. And so many times he's gone and kicked his teammate on the first lap of a race. It's just... What is it all about, man? Like, what is wrong with your attitude, Mr. Ocon? Like, it's not good enough. Like, even someone like Roman Grosjean took more care around his teammates. I mean, even when he had Kimi Räikkönen as teammate, like when the team radio at Lotus said, please move over, Roman, he allowed Kimi to go past him, and there was no problem. Like, I know this sounds crazy, but I would rather have Roman Grosjean driving for my team than Esteban Ocon. And for those of you wondering, it is a red flag at the Canadian free practice session because Zhou has spun into the gravel. Who is the Alf Holland of F1? I don't know, mate. I think we might be getting a bit... Well, I think it might be a bit generous comparing Esteban Ocon to Roy Keane, to be honest, because Roy Keane was a world-class player in his day. I think it's more appropriate to compare someone like Esteban Ocon to, like, Lee Cattermole, who used to play for Middlesbrough and Sunderland in the Premier League. I mean, let's face it, I wouldn't dare to compare any driver on the grid to Mr. Joey Barton because I think that's a bit too far, to be honest. I mean, Joey Barton, just a fog on another level. Not even, I don't think, I mean, levels of hooliganism that I think no self-respecting sportsman would want to compare themselves to ever. I think I did a tier list about 6 or 7 years ago where I compared F1 drivers to footballers, where I think I compared Esteban Ocon to, wait for it, Divock Origi. Aggressively average. Yeah, I mean, Divock Origi, I think, I don't know, I think he does have parallels to Ocon in that he always gave me the impression of a footballer who could be decent if he really wanted to be, but seemed more happy to sit on the bench for Liverpool and whatever clubs he's been at, to be honest, and popping up with a few important goals when it matters. Oh, and Zhou damaged his rear wing. Yeah. Oh dear, Zhou is not doing his 2025 seat chances any favours right now. Aggressively average, yes. No, Ocon has his moments. I know he can be fast when you keep him out of trouble, but his ego, his insecurity over how he was forced to grow up in a caravan as a child eats into his self-esteem. So he always feels like he has to do something grand and impressive to impress everyone in the sport. But he rarely pulls off his big delusional overtaking maneuvers because, you know, I mean, his childhood feud with Gasly is beyond ridiculous. Like, I mean, what is it with Ocon? Like, you've earned your money now. Like, even if you were to leave Formula 1 now, like, you've got enough money to live a comfortable life. I mean, yes, I get the passion is there to be one of the greatest, to achieve as much as possible, but I mean, Ocon's attitude is really beginning to bite him in the backside. Of course, it's green flag conditions again, for those of you wondering. They've cleared Zhou's car. I mean, I don't know what on earth they're going to do with Zhou's car, but they've only got about 3 hours to go until qualifying. Not ideal for Sauber. I don't think we're going to see any impressive lap times because, let's be honest, no one wants to show their car's potential in a practice session where, of course, in a weekend where they've had absolutely very little dry running prior to today's session, which, of course, has been made far more important due to said wet conditions yesterday. And Verstappen goes fastest with a 15.5. That's ominous. That is just ominous. That's all I can say. Piastri goes to third with a 16.9. Leclerc does a 17.5. And Sainz with a 17.7. Of course, Gasly did a great lap. He's still in second place. So, you know, I think Alpine are finally beginning to unlock some pace in there. Ocon could have a seat in the Alpine Hypercar program. Absolutely true. Yes, he could have a seat in the Hypercar program. I mean, but at this rate, it looks like he's going to be heading to Haas for next season. And his potential future teammate, Kevin Magnussen, has gone second fastest with a 16.2. Yeah, I mean, Ocon, you're going to be getting one head of a teammate next season. And let me just remind you, having this Danish driver as a teammate can be more lethal than drinking hydrochloroxide down your gob. I'm just warning you, Mr. Ocon, okay? It could be lethal. It could be dangerous for your health. And I think even you might need to mind your own business next year when you go to Haas, because Kevin Magnussen doesn't play nice. That's all I'm saying. I look forward to a lot of brawls. Yes, indeed. Look at that. Magnussen is suddenly picking up a little bit of form, just as he heard about the news that Esteban Ocon could be his teammate for 25. Oh boy, this could get hot. Norris goes to third with 16.2. And what happened there? Gasly? How is Gasly fourth, but they haven't updated his time yet? And look at that, Sargeant in sixth with a 16.3. Ricciardo, Alonso, 15.8. The times are tumbling, folks. Hulkenberg, 8th with a 16.3. Yeah, I mean, obviously, no one is showing their full hand yet. K-Bag would rather have Ollie Behrman as a teammate. Yes, absolutely true. I don't think any driver wants to have Ocon as a work buddy next season. In fact, I don't think any engineers are looking forward to the idea with Esteban's demands and complaints and over the team radio next season. Be 14 just under 15.0 there from, of course, that's Max Verstappen, the 3-time world champion. And Gasly returns to second with a 15.7. Finding more speed on that Alpine. Ocon is an all-or-nothing driver. Yeah, I kind of get that, but he's kind of like Jacques Villeneuve and Montoya without quite as much as their peak talent. Like, he can be fast, but he's nowhere near as quick as what Montoya and Villeneuve were in their prime. And when I say Villeneuve, I obviously mean both Gilles and Jacques Villeneuve in terms of their ability behind a racing car. Ocon has flashes of talent, but he's nowhere near consistent enough or anywhere or has the peak raw speed of those aforementioned drivers. To be honest, I think after about 10 minutes, I think people are going to settle down in terms of their lap times, because I think they're just going to start putting race fuel on board in their car and see how fast their cars can go. I think Ferrari are obviously looking at the general race pace of their car. Everyone except Stroll and Alonso are on medium tyres. Of course, the two Aston Martins are doing laps on the hard tyres. So, I mean, after the impressive showing in yesterday's FP2, I mean, I think they've decided to dial down the speed a bit in their car. And Alonso, 14.9 on the hard tyres. Very impressive there by Alonso. Of course, Carlos Sainz. Of course, I heard the rumours. Carlos Sainz could be going to Williams next season. But of course, Sainz and his manager immediately closed down such rumours. Apparently, they're not very happy about people speculating about his future like that. But of course, do you know what's more funny? Do you know what it is? James Vowles came out claiming that Williams have got 2 world-class drivers at their team. I think that might be a bit bold to claim Logan Sargeant is an elite driver. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm going to say. Piastri goes third with a 15.2. And Verstappen sets a purple sector 2. Norris goes to third with a 15.0. And I think the excitement over Alpine's pace has obviously died down. Only one world champion has hit the wall since 1990. I mean, oh yeah, Mr. Fernando Alonso. Yeah, 2005. What a brilliant race that was. Of course, Mr. Montoya crashing into, ignoring the red light at the end of the pit lane because he was ignored because Kimi got preferential pit treatment under the safety car. And poor old Giancarlo Fisichella suffered an hydraulics failure on his car when he was leading the race. Kind of a bittersweet win for me that day when Kimi won the race, but then I also realised that Fisichella had retired in the pit lane. Oh damn, look at that. Alonso back on top. Don't know. I mean, does that mean Aston Martin have a good car this weekend? I think it remains to be seen. Because, of course, the past few weekends, they've been struggling at Miami. Stroll snatched a couple of points at Imola. And, of course, Alonso and Stroll crashed out at Monaco. And Alonso missed out on a point altogether last time at Monte Carlo. Oh, you're talking about the Wall of Champions. Yeah, the wall coming out of the final corner. Yeah. Vettel in practice. Well, I mean, it's practice, dude. Who cares about that? I mean, barely anyone ever crashes into the barriers like Montreal these days. Like, these cars are so much more stable than they were back in the 90s or even the early 2000s, if we're going to be honest. I mean, 1999 was notorious for drivers like Schumacher and Villeneuve crashing into the barriers that race. But back then, of course, the cars were only 1.8 meters wide. It was only the second year of the groove tyres, and the cars were made harder to drive by the fact that there were only 4 grooves on. There were now 4 grooves instead of 3 put on the front tyres, which reduced mechanical grip even further. So the drivers, obviously, and because the cars had no traction control back then, it made them a nightmare to drive. And Alonso reduces his lap times to just a 14.4. MasterCard, wait, hang on a minute, John. MasterCard want to sponsor a team next season. Who is it? I don't know what this story is about. I mean, are you talking about MasterCard Lola, or are you being serious? Because I'm not sure what you're talking about. I mean, are MasterCard Lola talking about returning as a sponsor very soon. I don't know. Well, Norris has now gone second fastest with a 14.9. Stroll is fourth fastest with a 15.0, ahead of Magnussen. Magnussen really unlocking more bit of speed now from the Haas, whilst Gasly improves his lap time to a 15.5, but he's now dropped down to 10th. Whilst Ocon has gone to 8th with a 15.4. So, I mean, as for Sauber, I mean, what's it? Bottas is 15th fastest with only a 1 minute 18.0. Now, of course, I know Sauber will go a lot faster than that in qualifying, but goodness me, Sauber are desperately waiting for, begging for Audi to come and take over their team, because Sauber have lost a will to live, really, to be honest, in terms of their performances. They're just not doing the job. I mean, they're clearly slower than Williams now, and they're slower than Haas, so... And Alpine have found a bit of speed, so... After, of course, messing up Bottas's race at Australia, Japan, and China, I mean, they might not score a point this season. That's all I'm going to say about Sauber. It's not looking good. Oh, right. Okay, at Miami, MasterCard, apparently there were rumours that MasterCard could be in negotiations with McLaren for sponsorship. Yeah, I think that's an interesting one. Of course, you know, the MasterCard logo being blue, yellow and orange, I think it would work very well with the orange papaya McLaren livery. And of course, this time round, it would actually have a quick car to sponsor in comparison to what they had back in 97 when they were sponsoring Lola. Of course, within just one race, Lola would be forced to pack up, and sadly, I think the team founder, I can't remember his name, ended up deceasing soon after, so that was a sad end to Lola's spell in Formula 1. Of course, 35 minutes ago in practice, and Albon improves to a 15.5, knocking Gasly out of the top 10. Tsunoda does a 15.2. Ricciardo has gone second fastest. I presume it must be a 14.6, but of course Ricciardo did it on a medium tyres. God, Ricciardo is so inconsistent. Oh, MasterCard want to be a title sponsor, yeah. MasterCard McLaren. That does fit well, I have to say. That does roll up the tongue very well. MasterCard McLaren, but I can imagine MasterCard's logo being just this big fat sticker slapped on the engine cover everywhere. Oh, damn. I've got to say this. And I think I wanted to ask someone in the poll now, would all be score more points if they had better drivers? Oh, right, yeah, Triple M, MasterCard, McLaren, Mercedes. The Triple M team, yeah. Oh, God, that sounds so cheesy, but... And, yeah, I think it is now the time of that practice session where everyone adds a bit more fuel to their cars to do a bit of long running, to do some race simulations, I beg your pardon. Hamilton and Russell are clearly not interested in doing any qualifying simulations since they're down in 16th and 18th. And the same can be said for the two Ferraris on Sainz and Leclerc. to be fair to Sauber, I think they're also doing race simulations since, of course, Bottas has only improved to a 17.3, so when he's not really trying, and neither is Sergio Perez, who, I mean, does that guy even know what qualifying is anymore? I don't even think he knows the meaning of the word qualifying in his own native language at this point, because 18th at Monaco, he's not being re-signed for his ability to push Max. No, he's being re-signed for his commercial value in Latin America. The fact that Red Bull are competitors with Monster in the Mexican and Latin American region, and the fact that Max, they want a nice little comfortable number 2 driver who does not upset Max Verstappen. Of course, you know, a lot of us have been saying, we want Carlos Sainz or Lando Norris or even Esteban Ocon in that second seat at Red Bull, but I mean, for goodness sake, like, Herbert Marko is pretty much still got a fair bit of power in the team, despite his bizarre threats of claiming that he could be suspended earlier on in the season. But I mean, if anything ever yelled main character syndrome when I heard something like that, that has to be it. That was just ridiculous. I mean, goodness me, Herbert Marko, like, he is so attached to Max Verstappen. It's so weird to watch. I don't know why he's so fond. I mean, how much money does he make out of being Red Bull advisor / Max Verstappen's biggest fanboy outside of Jos Verstappen? I really do wonder, because I presume Herbert Marko will only finally retire from Formula 1 when Max Verstappen retires from racing in the sport. Yeah, I mean, there's not really that much to say about the practice lap times. I mean, Sargeant! Look at this, folks! Sargeant, fastest with a 14.3. Logan Sargeant is topping the timesheets. 40. Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious. Absolutely no one is focused on qualifying simulations, apart from, of course, one driver who has been struggling in qualifying with a 7-0 deficit to his teammate Alex Albon in qualifying so far this season. So yeah, I think it's pretty obvious that Williams want Sargeant to do better today, and yes, indeed, it is opposite day. This all reminds me of how Nicholas Latifi went fastest in free practice at Hungary a couple of years ago. Of course, the Goatifi, as many like to refer to him as, the true GOAT himself, Latifi, blessing our timelines on social media with a fastest top of the timesheets performance at Hungary back in 22. What a remarkable performance that was. Sargeant P1. We might never see this again, folks, but of course, he is running on the soft tyres, so I think that makes sense. And do not be surprised to see Bottas and Russell up the timesheets, because they're also on soft tyres, along with Carlos Sainz. I really do wonder what's going on there. Oh, blimey, this is hilarious. We might never see this again, folks. If you're watching my YouTube stream, you can press print screen or click the capture screen button on your phone, because look at that. Sargeant P1, a 1 minute 14.3. We might never see this ever again, but no, it's short-lived. Anyone who didn't press screen, sorry, your chance is gone, because of course Russell's now back on top. A 14.3. And Bottas has gone to the top 10 with a 15.0. I've just read a statistic out that just said if Charles Leclerc was to score a pole position today, that would be the 50th pole position for car number 16 within Formula One history. Hamilton and Alonso have the opportunity to become the first driver to win a race after completing 300 Grand Prix starts in Formula One history. And Albon, a 13.9. Albon is on top. Williams have got a fast car this weekend. Williams have got a fast car. That's all I'm going to say. And Leclerc goes fastest with a 13.6. The lap times are dropping faster than Brazil was shipping in goals in the 2014 World Cup final. Formula One has rejected Andretti's bid to enter the sport in the next 2 years, but have left the door open for admission from 2028 onwards. So, yeah, and Hamilton goes fastest with a lap time under 13.5. Yeah. Yeah, we're going to... Well, I think today's pole position could well be well within the 1 minute... could be under a 1 minute 11.5, judging by today's laps. Since, of course, today is, I think, the first actual proper dry session all the cars have done so far this weekend. Ricciardo improves to a 14.0 into 6th place. And would you look at that? The two Aston Martins have dropped to 10th and 12th now. So they're kind of falling back to their normal performance levels now. And of course, the two Red Bulls are behind them. So that's basically 12th and 14th for the Aston Martin team. Albeit, of course, they've got Bottas in front of them. So, yeah, I think more or less Aston Martin have only got the 6th fastest car in terms of raw pace now, which is quite worrying to say the least, because I would take it in terms of the running order. Red Bull in front, McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes, and in 5th place, the RB team of Ricciardo and Tsunoda. Hence why I asked you in the poll, do you think Red RB would score more points with better drivers? And one person voted and said no. I think Albon has improved to under a 13.9. And Sargeant is only about 10 slower. So, yeah, Williams have got some serious space in that car. In fact, no, I think I'll go as far as to say Aston Martin have only got the 7th fastest car on the track this weekend because, of course, Williams, I would put them 6th right now. Very alarming stuff for the boys in green. Seriously alarming stuff because they're not quick. They are not quick at all. Okay, I know Williams are not going to qualify 4th and 5th, but still, Aston Martin have got problems, serious problems. I think with about 20 minutes to go, I'm not entirely sure what's it. For those of you still watching, I mean, please say hello to me if you're still there, but I mean, it seems to only float between 1 and 2 people watching at this point. Piastri 9th, Norris 2nd, always up there again. Croatia beating Portugal. Oh boy, Croatia beating Portugal. Oh. I don't know if I'm going to have time to do a football stream. I think if you want to go and see my Encore football channel, of course, that's available. I did a stream last night after England lost to Iceland. I beg your pardon. I am not worried about what happened last night because, of course, there are a lot of new players in the England squad. So inevitably, there's going to be a bit of time needed to bed in some of the players we have. 16 teams will progress from a 24-team tournament. I really don't think England. I mean, I know some people have been joking that England could well be one of the 8 teams to get knocked out of the first round, but that would be I mean, Gareth Southgate would be sacked ASAP if that happened, but I can't see it happening. I think what's more like, I mean, look. I mean, in terms of the lap times here, Tsunoda's gone 10th with a 14.3. So, Aston Martin, I don't know where they stand, but I don't think they have a lot of raw pace in that Aston Martin. I mean, I know it's only practice, but this is worrying. Mika Hakkinen, 4 years of fame. What are you talking about? Is that Hall of Fame? I mean, I've not heard Mika Hakkinen's name being mentioned for quite a while. I've not ever heard anyone mention Mika Hakkinen on my streams or in my comment sections, unless, of course, it was something in regards to Michael Schumacher or his very brief spell as Ayrton Senna's teammate back in 1993. Mika Hakkinen has got a really hard career to judge, if I'm going to be honest, because of course, he did 2 years at Lotus. He spent most of 1993 as McLaren's test driver before being promoted as a race driver towards the end of the season, when, of course, Marco Andretti was sacked. Mika Hakkinen out-qualified Ayrton Senna on their first qualifying session together in Portugal. And he finished on the podium at the subsequent Japanese Grand Prix. Of course, he also survived that horrific practice accident at the Australian Grand Prix a couple of years later at Adelaide. Made a huge, miraculous recovery to become a 2-time world champion and a winner of 20 career victories in Formula One. Only one less than the 2007 world champion. But despite that, of course, most F1 fans still insist that Mika Hakkinen is the greater driver than Kimi Räikkönen. And Carlos Sainz has now gone under a 1 minute 14. Oh, you're talking about his peak, which only lasted roughly 4 years or so. Of course, I mean, Mika Häkkinen's career is also kind of hard to judge from the fact that between 94 and 97, McLaren had a midfield car. I know they were capable of contending for race wins at certain parts of 97, but of course, Häkkinen leading the race at Silverstone before his engine blew. Same again at Luxembourg, at the Nürburgring, and then of course, I think he was. Did he grab pole position at the A1 ring in Austria? Yeah, but then I think his engine blew on the first lap, so look at that. Aston Martin, 12th and 13th, and they've got the 2 Red Bulls behind them, so Aston Martin are in serious trouble. I'm just saying it right now. Aston Martin are screwed. And what did I say about Croatia being potential favourites? I did say you have got to watch out for Croatia. I would like to know of Portugal playing their first team because, you know, with just 1 week to go, I mean, I don't know whether who's playing a B team, but of course, you know, Poland beat Ukraine 3-1 last night. I don't know why I'm talking about football because, of course, I think everyone's out just doing race simulation runs with, of course, Albon and Sargeant in 6th and 7th. I don't think both Albon and Sargeant are going to be qualifying that high, but I would put a fair bit of money on the fact that I think Williams have a chance of out-qualifying Aston Martin. It does not look good for the boys from Silverstone. I mean, Papa Stroll has got some serious problems on his hands with his Aston Martin team because, of course, unless Papa Stroll is willing to remove his son for the benefit of Aston Martin Racing, we are not going to see any improvements from them. We are not. Oh, and it's now 67% in favour of yes. Albi would score more points with better drivers. And do you know what? I agree. They would score more points with better drivers. Absolutely agree with those 2 people who voted yes. I mean, Ricciardo, we all know he's struggling with his performance. And Tsunoda, as good as he's been recently, I mean, he still needs to improve in certain aspects of his driving. I am not entirely sold on the idea that Tsunoda is actually performing fully to his absolute maximum or anywhere near close to the maximum of what the RB is capable of producing. And if Fernando Alonso wins a race this season, he will become the oldest driver to win an F1 race since Jack Brabham in 1970. Blimey, that is scary. And I think if Alonso wins a race around, I don't know, in August, September onwards, I think Alonso will actually win his first race for God knows how long and at an even older age than Jack Brabham did for his final win at the 1970 South African Grand Prix. That is one hell of a statistic, mind you. And Ricciardo has gone up to 5th. Piastri has improved to 6th. Williams tumbling down the table slightly, but nonetheless, it's been a productive practice session for the boys from Grove. Aston Martin have still got problems. Red Bull are very much sandbagging. Don't you worry. If you see any suspicious sand spills around the Montreal track in about 3 hours' time, I think you'll know exactly who got rid of those sandbags. And unfortunately, no, you do not get any prizes working out who got rid of their sandbags, judging by these lap times, if they, of course, inevitably get at least one of their cars into Q3, because, of course, for some reason, Car number 11 does seem to be struggling an awful lot when it comes to quali. Oh, yeah, Fernando Alonso fans. Of course, you know, Fernando Alonso came out and said, I think after 2012, I mean, I think he had a conversation with Alan Permain or what's his name? I don't even know his name now. That French guy who later became team manager at McLaren. I keep forgetting his name, but Alonso did say that he would have won the 2012 World Championship in the Lotus E20. And yes, you are correct, John Cartier. It has now officially been 11 years since Fernando Alonso won a Formula One race at his home track in Spain. My God, that is such a long time ago, like. I mean, I think the last time in 2013 when that happened, I mean, I think Sir Alex Ferguson had just won his final title at Man United, his final Premier League title with Man United. Brazil had just won the... Oh, yes, it was Eric Boullier. Thank you very much. I forgot his name. Yeah, I think Eric Boullier, I mean, when he fell out with Kimi Räikkönen because, of course, Lotus couldn't pay Kimi Räikkönen his wages. And look at that. Max Verstappen on 1 minute 13.3. Just... Oh, and a 1 minute 12.5 from Lewis Hamilton, proving there is a lot of speed available to the Brackley boys. That is a statement lap time there by the Mercedes team. Oh, yeah, and Man United lifted the Premier League title. Rio Ferdinand scoring the winner against Swansea, yeah. Oh, my God, I mean... Man United fans have experienced a torrid time since Fernando Alonso has won a race in Formula One. Absolutely unbelievable. And, of course, how could I forget? Ryan Giggs was still playing football. Max Verstappen was still in the karting series around Europe. He was still only, what, 15 years old? Charles Leclerc was only 15. Lando Norris was still eating I don't know what you call it now, Kinder chocolate, and he was still drinking Ribena. Oscar Piastri had only learned how to do skinny dipping for the first time in his life. 12.5 from Lewis Hamilton. Look at those lap times. 8 tenths faster than Max Verstappen, who, I mean, has finally done a few quali simulations about with just 10 minutes left to go, but my goodness me, I think Mercedes might be in contention this weekend. If they can actually keep this up. Oh dear, look at that. Alonso and Stroll now in 13th and 15th. Alarmingly slow. And of course, Ocon has got in front of Stroll. Ocon has gone faster than Stroll. Oh man, this is squeaky bum time for, of course, and Alonso's now gone 6th, 13.6 for the double Spanish world champion. And both McLarens immediately outpace him. Seven, 8 minutes to go, folks. Of course, I know 3 people said that Norris would win the racing by pole, but judging by these lap times, I don't think it looks particularly as promising as you think. Although, of course, Ricciardo is currently 3rd fastest. I mean, it does look like Ricciardo is desperate to silence a few critics by trying to pump out those fast laps in practice. It remains to be seen whether this tactic is going to work for Daniel, because I think if anyone saw what Jacques Villeneuve said about Daniel Ricciardo earlier on, I mean, it's not particularly pleasant to say the least. And I'm pretty sure there were plenty of Ricciardo fans calling Mr. Villeneuve something along the lines of being something like, I don't know, a bold nonce is what I probably imagine they would be probably calling him right now. My God, everyone is desperate to make the most out of this dry running, I'll tell you that. I mean, we might get a fun race because there's not, I mean, the teams didn't have much opportunity to collect data yesterday due to the wet conditions. Apparently, there was a massive hailstorm which blocked fans from entering the track because the police claimed that the practice session was cancelled. Although, of course, I don't even know what the police were doing, considering those fans had paid good money to see the cars circulate around the track at Montreal. Pretty shocking, I have to say. JC's biggest mistake was not joining McLaren. JC. Oh my God, I forgot who you're talking about there, mate. JC. Oh my God. JC, I'm trying to think. I mean, I keep thinking of Jensen Bottom, but that's JB. JC, I am really... Oh, JV, yeah, Jacques Villeneuve. Yeah, absolutely. Could have joined... Jacques Villeneuve had the opportunity to join McLaren in 1999 to replace David Coulthard, but with his hubris, Jacques Villeneuve decided to join the new British-American racing team formed by his manager Craig Pollock, I beg your pardon. And those you're wondering, Hamilton is topping the time charts with a 12.5, Verstappen improving to a 13.2. I presume Verstappen is keeping something in reserve down the straight line, just backing off slightly so he doesn't show how quick the car is, so that the teams cannot counteract his pace. Fernando Alonso should have, could have, would have. That is the story of Fernando Alonso's career right there. Should have, could have, would have. Yeah, mate. Fernando Alonso has got to take the blame for his career mistakes. I mean, staying loyal to Flavio Briatore will always be a curse for Alonso. I mean, the two Aston Martins are back up to 9th and 10th, but I mean, 5th fastest, 6th fastest. I mean, who knows, really? I mean, I think they're slower than RB. I think they're only 6th fastest right now, to be honest. Aston Martin. I mean, Ricciardo is comfortably in the top 5, so yeah, definitely only the 6th fastest on the grid. And Alonso improves to a 13.3, but he is still half a tenth slower than Ricciardo, so I'm not really sure what Aston Martin can do. Absolutely, I would agree. RB would be laughing in points right now if they had a better driver than Ricciardo at the very least. They would be laughing. 3 minutes ago. Is anyone watching? Oh, yeah, I've got someone watching. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Yes. News that DRS has been scrapped from F1 for 2026. Tsunoda is happy to stay at RB, but he wants more commitment from Red Bull. And Carlos Sainz has trashed rumours that he will be moving to Williams next season. And Hamilton has received the Mercedes new upgrade, with Russell claiming something about qualifying. My God, everyone's going up in lap times. Perez 9th. Perez in the top 10. Oh, damn, everyone's desperate to do a qualifying lap. What the hell is going on out here? Gotta say it, Sargeant is actually quick this weekend, which is something I never think I'd get to say. Russell in second, under the 13-second mark. Stroll 13.1. The lap times are tumbling, and Aston Martin are finally unleashed a bit of pace. Finally showing a bit of their hand, surprisingly. And Zhou, if you're wondering, is stuck at the bottom because he spun off earlier on in the session and beached his Sauber in the gravel. Gasly improves to a 13.7. Sainz, I think, has stayed in the garage, hence why he's down in 18th. Sargeant doing another lap. 13 seconds remaining. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And it has ended. FP3 has ended. I don't know if anyone is going to be able to complete their final lap. Verstappen improves to a 12.9. I think Hamilton did a 12.55. So, yeah, Mercedes are looking good coming into qualifying. But then the same can be said for Aston Martin after Stroll did a 13.0. Hello there, Roxford. I hope you're doing well this afternoon, morning, evening, wherever you are in the world. Yeah, hammer time it is for any Lewis Hamilton fans watching this stream. Mercedes upgrades do appear to be working, but of course this is only practice, and it is the first dry running session of the whole weekend after the hailstorm interrupted yesterday's sessions. Perez only ninth, and yet this comes after he renewed his contract until 2026. So I think it's obvious the money that Red Bull is receiving from Perez's sponsors is very, very valuable. Of course, the cost cap is very much restricting their budget. And, of course, with the extortionate wages that Max Verstappen demands, of course, I think Perez is basically paying Max's wages now. And of course, he's an obedient number 2 who does not have the raw speed of Max. So hence why Perez was able to renew his contract. And let's face it, Perez would probably be off to some, I don't know, back market team if he was to leave Red Bull. I mean, let's be honest, Perez is just saving up for his pension at this point in his career. Stroll improves to a 1 minute 13.026. And 4 out of 5 people believe RB would score more points if they had a bad drive, if they had bad drivers in the team. And I think you're right, Ricciardo is sick, but can he keep this up? So thank you for watching. I'll come back in a few hours.